everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Thoughts Behind the Wheel. I haven't done one of these in a little while, and well, mainly because these are kind of like more laid back and sporadic, and when I feel like doing them. And I guess for the past week, usually when I'm driving home, I'm just kind of tired, so I'm just chillaxing, you know. But tonight, I guess it is tonight, it's 6:09 on September the 17th. So I guess it's tonight. Close enough. Anyway, tonight, I wanted to talk about something. I had something interesting come up. So I was talking to Inferno about Mass Effect, and we were talking about in investing in the story. And basically, you know, the idea was that, you know, I've played Mass Effect 1 like 10 times, and I've probably played 2 as many times, and maybe more, and I've played 3 twice now, and I'm going through a third one for my Iron Man run. So, you know, I've played Mass Effect a lot. And the question is, you know, how to stay invested when you already have such a huge grasp on what's going to happen. You know, once you play through it once, then you play through it again maybe a year later, you know, you kind of forget a lot of stuff. And but, you know, I there's pretty much not many surprises left for me in Mass Effect 1 and 2, at least. I'll say there's probably still some things in 3 I don't know, but 1 and 2, yeah, probably not much that's going to surprise me anymore. So how do I still play and enjoy it? And it's an interesting question that I really had to think about. And I had a surprising answer that I've never really considered before. I understand that a lot of people, the problem a lot of people have is that, you know, the choices are less tense when you know what the outcome is. You know what's going to happen when you make a book choice or B choice. And by the way, I'm going to keep this spoiler free, so don't worry. When you make A choice or B choice, you know, you know what's going to happen. Therefore, the decision is not as tense. And it's true, it never is as tense as that first time. It just isn't. There's that first time when you don't know, oh, that's the best or worst, you know, depending on how you want to look at it. But so a lot of times once you know the plot, the story, how it ends, etc., you might play through it once or twice to do things a bit differently. But after you do that, you know, I understand a lot of people, it's like, there's nothing there for me anymore. I understand the story. I know the plot. I get it. There's nothing left for me. And I had to think about why it was different. How it doesn't seem to, you know, how many times I play that game, I still find immense enjoyment in it. And I think it's because I don't play the Mass Effect game so much for the plot or the story anymore. I think I play them for the emotions. That sounds a little weird, but bear with me. So I empathize a lot. I'm really, really good at, even without thinking about it, putting myself in a character's shoes and trying to think what they think and feel what they feel. I've done it ever since I was a little kid. I mean, ever since I was a tiny, tiny kid, I was always throwing myself into storybooks and imagining what it would be like to be this character, that character. I suppose everyone does to an extent, but I did it a lot as a little kid, and I don't think I ever really stopped. Even now, when I read a book, I empathize greatly with the characters in it. I see things how they see, or I try to, and I try and feel what they feel, and, you know, the emotions mean a lot to me. I think the best way to say it is that when I play Mass Effect, or really any big story-driven game, while I'm playing it, I kind of lose sight of the boundary between what's real and what's a game. Not too much, don't, it's not like I get all creepy and I can't tell what's game and what's real, but no, I get so in the moment, so in the character, that I guess I view it as more than just pixels on a screen or characters in a story even. I view it as somewhat more real. Especially the better the story is, or the better the characters are, the more I do it. And I think that's what I play Mass Effect 4 now, more than anything, is to re-experience those emotions, those feelings, those feelings. So Shepard makes a choice, a big decision, and I know what the consequences are for all choices that you could make, and I know what's going to happen, but it doesn't matter because that Shepard doesn't know what's going to happen. And I can put myself into him and imagine what he's got to be feeling at this moment. This big decision, he has to choose A or B, and even though I know what the outcome is, he doesn't. And I can put myself into his head and think, dear God, what must be going through your mind to have to make a choice like this is crazy. And I can empathize with them. And I think that's what I play it for. When I talk to, a companion like Garrus that I really, really enjoy, I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to be said in the conversation, but it doesn't matter to me because the emotion of the conversation, I know this sounds all touchy-feely and sappy, but the emotion of the friendship, of how that makes Shepard feel when, Garrus says something like, if you're having trouble sleeping, I can't sleep either, so meet me at the bar. Something like that. The emotion that Shepard's got to be feeling when that's said, I can kind of still feel that, and I enjoy that. When like Tali or Liara is your love interest and they say something really sweet and romantic, I can still feel what Shepard must be feeling at that point. So I don't think I play Mass Effect for the story so much anymore, other than with the exception of the story is what drives the character interaction. Without the plot, it's just character interaction, which is difficult. But I think I could play it to eternity. I think I do the same thing for movies too. A good movie I'll watch 5, 6, 7 times. And a year or two later I'll watch it again, and a year or two later I'll watch it again, and I can't tell you how many movies I've seen, probably more than 10 times. Same thing there. I don't think I'm watching it for the story anymore. I think I'm watching it because I empathize with the characters and I enjoy that feeling of imagining what they must be going through, feeling their despair and their triumph and all that stuff. I think I just really enjoy that. I don't know how many people actually do that. I have to imagine not many do it as much as I do. Otherwise, I think people would play the games as much as I do. And I'm not saying that you guys don't, but I'm pretty sure most of you haven't played Mass Effect 10 times or any story-driven game that many times, or maybe you have. I don't want to generalize, but I don't think many people have. And I'm not talking about like, Mario Brothers where you've played it 10 times because of skill. I mean for the story. You play it for the story. So yeah, it's like I said, it's an interesting thing. I think that that's also why a lot of things work for me that don't work for others. Like the kid at the beginning of Mass Effect 3. I won't go into what we're talking about, but anyone who's played Mass Effect 3 knows what I'm talking about. And a lot of people think it was a cheap tactic, a cheap trick to pull on the heartstrings of the players. And objectively, I can look at it and say, yeah, that's a cheap tactic to pull on the heartstrings of the player. But I didn't think about that when I played the game. It worked. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. When I played the game, the kid hit me hard. And I was like, and I think it's because more than a lot of gamers, I treat Shepard as real, or I put myself into Shepard. When this mythical situation of kid said thing happens, it wasn't me watching a computer game. It was me standing on the deck of the Normandy with Shepard. And I don't care who you are. If you've got a shred of decency, if you were really in his shoes when that happened, it would suck. And most people would think that sucks. And I do that a lot more than the average people. When bad things happen to people in Mass Effect, trying to be as vague as possible, I think it might have hit me harder than some people because for that very reason. Even in movies that shouldn't be that emotional or silly or whatnot, oh God, what was that movie that just came out that was about the things in the girl's head, the emotions? Oh gosh, In and Out, Inside Out, Inside Out, maybe. I don't remember. No, I don't remember. Anyway, it's this Pixar movie with this girl's emotions in her head, and it's all these every emotions personified by different things. It was a fun little kids movie. It's fine. Oh, you know what? No, here's a good example. Big Hero 6. All right. Big Hero 6, it's just a movie for kids, well, and for adults too, I suppose. It was a great movie. It was really fun. Don't get me wrong. But it wasn't like emotionally deep, you know? It was a little bit, but I think there were 2 times I teared up in that movie. Yes, I know, and I'm admitting it. There are 2 times I teared up in that movie. One at the end, and one really close to the beginning, where a character loses something important to them. I'm trying again to be spoiler-free. And most people wouldn't tear up at that, because at that point, especially at the beginning of the movie, at that point, you're not invested in the characters enough to care. You know, here's what most people would say. Okay, yeah, it stinks for him, but I don't know anything about what's going on. I'm not really invested, so I don't care about what's happening here. It's not really affecting me that much. And, you know, that's a very valid thing to have. It affects me because I don't need to know the character to empathize with them, I guess. And I do that a lot. So, yeah. So, not that I think it's bad. I don't think it's bad at all. I enjoy it. In fact, I think I can enjoy a lot of games and movies more than, I guess, the average person, if you want to call them the average person. I don't know. Because I can empathize more with it. And I think I get more out of it that way. So, yeah. That did not take as long to talk about as I thought it would. Kind of a done. So, what do we talk about now? Really don't know what to talk about. I haven't really looked for any questions or anything. I suppose I can give updates to the channel. Things are kind of hectic at the moment because my hard drive is being data recovered, and I'm just praying and hoping to the sky above that they can recover all my saved games for XCOM and Fallout 3. Really, XCOM and Fallout 3 are the big ones. Witcher, I can start over again, it's fine. I'm not that far, I can start that over. But XCOM, I mean, if I lose that save game, all the roleplay stuff is just done. It's done, which stinks. If I can't get Fallout 3 save game, I can't do Sean's story again. I can't. There's no way I'd go back and recreate every decision and choice he's made. That's insane. I would probably, if I can't get Sean's story back, I'll probably start a new roleplay. But man, that's gonna stink. So I'm just fingers crossed that Sean's okay. And here's the thing. I know what some of you are saying. Just start the game over and Sean, and just treat it like, you know, Sean's starting over or something like that. But see, here's the problem. Sean's character development is based so much upon what's already happened in the game. The way he thinks and feels right now is already highly affected by what's taken place. And there's no way I could go recreate a lot of that. I mean, if you think about it, how much of that, of his mindset is based off of tiny little things, random encounters, and all that stuff. Yeah, so I'd never be able to recreate that, so I don't know. But hey, fingers crossed. Ardenfell, I just need to cut up and render more episodes. I just haven't had a chance to get to it. They're coming. There's lots coming. Rifts, there's a small snafu with Rifts. We lost a session. Twitch erased it, and it was a very important session. A lot of stuff happened. It's kind of important. So I kind of need to write a summary of what took place and what happened, and I just haven't had time to do that yet. Plus, I need to try and get Tiny Wrath to reread the first chapter of my fan fiction for my own Rifts campaign, which is fun. But yeah, so that's gonna take a bit time to get going, but yeah, it should be getting soon. And then there's Lone Wolf, which I'm really enjoying. Lone Wolf's a little slow though because I got to read everything, and you know I can only do that for like an hour or two before I got to stop. Yeah, and then there's Shelly Shepherd, which is Iron Man Mass Effect, which I have to stream it, so I basically have to find time to stream it. Now, time has been crunched lately, not only because of work and everything else, but because we're starting to try and prepare for Dragon Ball Z League that's starting up next year, the first week of January, and we've got a lot to do really quickly because while it sounds like there's lots of time between now and then, there's not lots of time for the staff, for us, because we are trying to test the viability of implementing some really, really big changes. In fact, I can just say, because, there's no reason not to say, we are testing a new difficulty level, which is harder than the very hard of the base game. And we are testing the viability for this because the reason why we want to use this is because from everything we've seen and all the testing we've done just reinforces this, it makes characters better. It makes them less derpy. And it helps level the playing field because it seems to have a slightly less effect on the characters that were already good than on the characters that just weren't that good. And our best guess to this is that the characters that were really great, top of the league characters like Nam and Vegeta and those characters were not very derpy to begin with. They were already pretty good. So the new difficulty level doesn't have much to work with, doesn't have much to improve. They're already pretty good. So they're a little less derpy, sure, and they're a little more consistent, but they already were pretty consistent. So, but the characters that were horribly inconsistent are much more consistent, which basically acts to level the playing field out. Now, I'm not saying that, Hercules now is great as Nam, or the lower ranked people are just as good as the highest ranked people. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying they're closer. I'm saying that they can stand up to them now. They may not win, but they can not get slaughtered. They can do better. And when you put that in the context of your entire team, where you now know that your entire team is competent, that can completely change the balance structure of the entire league. Now you got these teams, like imagine, like the Ginyu Force. They had two really good characters and like two characters that just, no matter what they did, they just couldn't get them to work. Well, now they've got two really good characters and two characters that are pretty good now, pretty competent. That's a completely different team. So it'll help balance out the league a bit. It'll refresh the league because everyone's going to have to not start from square one, but kind of. Not completely, but kind of. Because now you're going to have to find out how your new players act in this new difficulty level. Everyone's a little bit more competent, but everyone also behaves a bit differently. And builds that worked before may not be the best choice now. They'll still work. It's just maybe other things work better now. Melee is a bit more prevalent now because people are more competent in the melee game. B2s are fired off a little bit smarter now. B1s are used a lot more. People love using B1s in this new difficulty, depending on what AI you're using. So, B1 builds are a lot more viable. So people are going to have to do massive amounts of testing to rebuild their team. And this takes time, obviously, and we want to give them as much time as possible. So we as a staff are busting our butts trying to make sure that this is viable, because before we release this and say, yes, we're going to do this, we need to test kinks out. And the big thing we're working on right now is this. As I said, people love using B1s, and that does present a big problem. That there are a few characters in the league who have healing B1s. And imagine how difficult that would make it for teams if they're going up against someone who constantly throws out healing B1s. Imagine Yajirobe if he tried to eat 5 sensu beans every match. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's rare that they try and do it that much. But take a healing B1 character. If they even pull off 2 or 3 healing moves a match, that's a problem. So we need to test this. And basically what we're doing is we're kind of testing every healing B1 character on every AI to see how much they like to use it, and use that to determine what AIs will allow and what we won't. And that's just, one of the things. Also, we need to test and make sure that, for example, 19 and 20 don't grab happy everyone on every AI, which, interesting thing to note there, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. There is a very interesting thing to note. I've only done very few tests on 19 and 20 so far. We need to do a lot more testing. This is just very preliminary, so take it with a grain of salt. But I did 20 versus Frieza, and I did them on whatever builds they had last season. And 20 did like to grab more. He was trying to grab more, but he was still only getting 2 or 3 off per round, because while he did try to grab more, Frieza also got a lot better at slapping that hand away. So, 20 would try and grab him, and Frieza would just be like, nope. So that was an interesting thing, and something we didn't really consider. We were like, oh, whoa, they're going to try and grab more. What if they try and grab more? We didn't even stop to consider, well, yeah, but what if they're just much better now at avoiding that grab? And so it just kind of balances itself out. In the little testing I did, it balanced itself out perfectly. I think 20 got like 3, maybe 4 grabs off a match, which is still pretty good for 20, but it's not balance breaking by any means whatsoever. So anyway, we're doing tons of testing because we really want to implement this in the league. We really want to throw this out there, and we think it'll completely, totally rejuvenate the league, and that's fantastic. It'll get people more excited. It'll get them to almost like they're starting from square one again. Okay, here's our team. Now let's make this team something amazing. And it'll give more teams hope. There's got to be teams out there like the Ginyu Force and Derp that are just season after season, after 6 seasons of getting beaten down, they got to be sitting there going, okay, maybe this season we'll do better. But, now if we can get this to work, now they can sit there and go, you know what? Maybe this season we're going to be the best. And that's really what we want. We want that hope. We want that optimism, and we think this difficulty level will return that. Not to mention, it'll make much more entertaining matches. These tests alone show that on this new harder difficulty level, matches are just so much fun to watch because people are really good. People seem to follow up on B1 stuns a lot better. They'll stun them and they'll actually start doing combos to them instead of just standing there. People seem to be a little bit better at knowing when to throw B2s. People seem to be much more competent in the melee game. You'll have people that'll sit there and dodge around each other. It's just fun. It's just fun times. So a lot of testing on our part, and I mean a lot of testing. I've run literally hundreds of one-on-one matches trying to test all this stuff. So things have slowed down a bit because of that, but that won't take too long. Hopefully in a week or so we'll be able to announce our findings and be able to let the people in Dragon Ball Z League start testing. Plus we've got some other big ideas we want to implement on the league that we gotta iron out the kinks. I don't want to say what that is just yet, but we're 99.99999% sure we're going to do it, and that you guys will really like it. It'll give teams more versatility. It'll give teams more options. So yeah, stay tuned to that. You'll be hearing about that soon too. Boy, oh boy. So yeah, there's that, and I'm almost home, so I think I'm going to go ahead and end this now, and yeah. So I will see you guys later. Ta-ta.